With these headlines, the presidents of Poland and 3 Baltic nations have arrived in Ukraine to discuss aid for the country in its fight against Russian invaders. The German president had planned to attend, but was apparently left off the guest list. More from Feature Story News' Rosie Burchard in Brussels.
Lithuanian President Gitanas Nausėda says he's bringing a message of further political support and military assistance to Kyiv during his visit, alongside his Polish and Baltic counterparts. But that's a message German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier won't be delivering in person, as his plans to take part in the trip were rebuffed by Ukraine. Speaking to press on Tuesday, Steinmeier said he was ready to join the visit, but that was something Kyiv did not want. In the past, the German president has been criticised for closeness with Russia, but Steinmeier has also spoken publicly about what he calls mistakes in Berlin's past approach to relations with Moscow. Rosie Burchard, Brussels.
Ukraine is disputing a Russian report that it has captured more than 1,000 Ukrainian soldiers in the besieged southeastern port of Mariupol. Ukrainian presidential advisor Oleksiy Arestovich did not comment on the alleged surrender. Ukrainian officials say the city remains under their control. Thousands of civilians have been reported killed in the city during the Russian assault. The actual number is expected to be far higher. Meanwhile, a group of Ukrainian Marines in Mariupol who had been cut off from other Ukrainian units has been able to reestablish contact. President Biden on Tuesday called Russia's actions in Ukraine a genocide for the first time, but White House officials say U.S. policy toward Russia will not change. Biden said the U.S. will continue to work with allies to investigate apparent war crimes committed by Russian forces in northern Ukraine. Biden made the charge in apparently off-the-cuff remarks in Iowa, where he had promised to ease restrictions on ethanol-infused gasoline to help lower gas prices. Christopher Martinez has more.
Biden partially blamed Russia's invasion of Ukraine for sparking inflation and rising gas prices. And in saying that, Biden for the first time used language that appears to call Russian atrocities in Ukraine genocide, a term that administration officials have avoided using up to now.
Your family budget, your ability to fill up your tank, none of it should hinge on whether a dictator declares war and commits genocide half a world away.
Reporting for Pacifica Radio News KPFA, I'm Christopher Martinez.
New York City police say a man sought in connection with an attack on a subway train in Brooklyn Tuesday that left 10 people shot is now considered a suspect. Investigators had initially been searching for 62-year-old Frank R. James as a person of interest. Police said that they found keys at the scene to a U-Haul van rented by James in Philadelphia. Authorities were examining social media videos in which James decried the U.S. as a racist place, awash in violence, and sometimes railed against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Adams told CNN today that the Brooklyn subway shooting is just the latest example of gun laws in the country that are far too lax.
We have an overproliferation of guns in our city and in our country. New York Police Department took 1,800 guns off the street in the 3.5 months that I have been the mayor. We need to think about that for a moment. Why they continue to flow into our city.
Police said the gunman sent off smoke grenades in a crowded subway car and then fired at least 33 shots with a 9mm handgun. 5 gunshot victims were in critical condition, but all 10 wounded in the shooting were expected to survive. At least a dozen others who escaped gunshot wounds were treated for smoke inhalation and other injuries. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp signed a bill into law Tuesday allowing residents to carry handguns in public without a license or background check. The governor signed a second measure that gives concealed weapons permit holders from other states the ability to carry legally in Georgia as well. The Georgia Senate passed what supporters call the Constitutional Carry Act at the beginning of April, sending it to the governor's desk. Standing in front of a crowd of supporters outside Gable Sporting Goods in Douglasville, Kemp said the bill is a public safety measure. During his 2018 campaign for governor, Kemp promised to champion the legislation, but little was done to advance it. The measure was revived this year, now that Kemp faces opposition in this year's primary from former U.S. Republican Senator David Perdue and others. I'm Max Pringle.